So then on that point, why do your own DAT? Like I'm sure DFDV and some of these other bets have paid off quite well for Pantera as a fund. And so why not just continue to use that edge in just kind of knowing how the DAT market works and actually, I guess take on the risk of launching something like Helius?
Yeah. Well, I think it really comes down to our conviction in Solana. It's that we think Solana is just this incredible asset whose story hasn't been told in an effective way yet to the mass market. When I think about the most successful DAT so far has been Bitmine, which was led by Tom Lee and Mosaics. And as we were putting that together, we didn't expect Bitmine to have the level of success that it's had. And, obviously all the credit really goes to Tom Lee and the guys that are executing it every day. But when we came in and helped anchor that deal, we thought this would be special, but we didn't realize how special. But it's just only after a month, that was in late June. And then by late July, we had realized that, wow, the impact that it's had on ETH is pretty incredible. We'd love to be able to create that for Solana as well. And we hadn't seen anyone else do that to a strong extent yet. We love our guys at DFDV. They've scaled to a certain amount, but we felt like we need to really take it to the next level. And we had built all this expertise. We have all this knowledge base, and obviously every banker and lawyer wants to work with us. And so we just thought, well, why don't we try? We really want to lean in as a firm to help our best investment, our biggest, highest conviction investment.
So what is the story that you're going to tell? I think if you follow Tom Lee, he has certain talking points that he'll hit in his television appearances, talking about Ethereum's the chain for stablecoins, or it's he has some kind of AI pitch involving Ethereum that he'll make. I think listeners to the show could put a guess to how you would sell this to Wall Street, but what are kind of the talking points that you're going to be putting out there on CNBC and wherever else?
Yeah, I bet I'd love to solicit the Lightspeed listeners for what all the best talking points they think they are and use the collective hive mind. But for me, it goes back to what do I think would resonate with the people that I used to work with, right? I come from a long short equity background. All my friends are now the partners at Tiger, Coatue, Lone Pine, all these places. And they're the decision makers for their tech book. And it's when I'm trying to pitch, and we talk digital assets, and when I talk digital assets with them, I feel kind of embarrassed pitching some tokens because it's just I just know this isn't going to land. They just won't pass the sniff test. But when it comes to Solana, the pitch is so easy. And that's why I feel so convicted that it is doable, right? For me, Solana is just faster, cheaper, more accessible. And why do I think that matters? It goes back to, my early career most of my career is covered in consumer internet companies. So everything from retailers like Costco to internet guys like Amazon. And the thing about that really stuck out to me, and the biggest stock of my time was, Amazon clearly has done extremely well. The reason for that is it goes back to what Jeff Bezos used to always say, which is that there's the holy trinity of consumer wants. There are three things that consumer wants that will never change. And that's they want faster, they want cheaper, and they want more accessibility. And I'm wow, that mirrors exactly to what Solana really provides. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's more accessible than traditional financial rails. And that's why it's going to win. And so that is just that clarity of vision, that simplicity of message to me is what really resonates. I think when you say that to anyone who's ever covered Amazon as a professional investor, they'll immediately really remember that quote as well. And so I think really telling that message of why it's, this fits what consumers want. And then we can talk about the use cases, right? From just an incremental growth perspective, Solana's been really taking the lion's share of all new app development, all new transactions, net new developers over the last 2 years. So if you are a growth investor, you want the guy that's growing the fastest and kicking ass and taking market share. And that's data both so very clearly Solana. And then obviously everyone cares deeply about economic sustainability and, the business case. And here it's pretty clear. Solana generates, $3 billion of annualized free cash flow. That's pretty incredible, right? $3 billion of cash flow on a $120 billion asset. It's only 40 times run rate for something that is growing extremely fast, doubling, tripling year over year. That is a compelling story that hasn't, that's the compelling hedge fund PM pitch, if you will, that hasn't been told in a big way. And so we're pretty excited to do that.
I'm just curious, actually, you mentioned you've done 15 DAT deals at this point. What is your favorite existing DAT, or one that you take inspiration from of they're doing things well, and what about them do you think works?
Yeah, well, our favorite dad is HSDT
Of course,
Helius.
yes.
That is our baby that we birthed into this world, and we're so excited to share with everyone because we do think that is very well positioned to be the preeminent Solana dad. That said, clearly the one that has wowed all of us with its execution is Bitmine for ETH, and I think what they did really well, and what I think a lot of crypto people didn't fully understand is that the whole name of the whole everything that you're supposed to do is about increasing awareness for the underlying token, especially with the main street retail and mainstream financial media. I think a lot of crypto natives get this wrong because we've lived in the crypto native world for so long, is that we've all learned and honed our skills over time to only appeal to crypto natives. And that's where Specialized for, when in reality, the only way to grow the pie is to appeal to everyone else, right? Is to grow the pie. And you do that by attracting main street retail. And so when you look at, I think SharpLink has done an amazing job, and we're investors in SharpLink, and huge backers like Health Consensus put it together. But when you look at the relative execution, Bitmine launched from a smaller base. SharpLink launched with a bigger base. Everyone knew like SharpLink's clear credentials with being associated with Ethereum. Tom Lee, like, less clear. They're not really the ETH guys until they became the ETH guy, because he has just this incredible platform to talk to, get on CNBC, get on Bloomberg, talk about this to Main Street retail. And so that's what we're really trying to focus on too, is, Pantera over time, we've really, because we were so early and we started in 2013 as the first institutional blockchain fund, we've had to scratch and claw and like really build our distribution over time. Our LP base didn't start institutional. It started very retail. And so we think we have this special ability to talk to Main Street retail in a way that perhaps is stronger than other crypto outlets. And we're going to try to do that in a big way. And so we're on all the major mainstream media outlets. We're on all the mainstream crypto outlets like this one. And we think we're going to do our best to tell the story to a whole new set of audience, just like Tom Lee did for ETH.
Mm-hmm. I also do want to ask about the name in honor of the memory of my former co-host, Mert Mumtaz, the CEO of Helius. Did you purposely acquire a company named Helius with the kind of Solana connection, or was that an accident? I just am curious what the story behind the name is.
Yeah, I think it was a some might say fortunate, some might say unfortunate coincidence. I'd say that obviously massive respect for Mert and Helius, what they're doing for Solana. The reality of the process is that, we, as you would expect from a former banker, we've combed through like 50 shells. We did all the 50 public companies that we've done all the diligence for. And the Helius team happened to be the one that fit exactly what we want to do the best. And is the management team that we thought we could partner with in the most special way. And it turns out to be a happy coincidence that it shared a name with Mertz Helius. And so we are, we're very focused on promoting HSDT and having the message be known that HSDT is what we're going forward with. And, we're open to suggestions about what the name for that company should be, whether it's, some people have said, huge Solana digital treasury or hodl Solana, something like that. But we have some good bones to work with.
Okay, interesting. But the actual name of the company was not like a active consideration. It was just
I think the setup, right? Yeah,
okay.
We're really focused on optimizing for, and I don't mean this in the wrong way. Like, we're optimizing for Main Street understanding and Main Street adoption, and I think most people don't know the crypto native lingo, and so we're just trying to find the best thing that works for them.
Okay, I want to get into the broader picture, the broader competitive landscape with some of these Solana DATs now that you guys have come out, the forward multi-coin jump and Galaxy one has come out. I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff to dig into there. Top of mind to me is, how is it going to work exactly with you having a stake in DFDV and maybe I don't know if you invested in Upexi, but I think you did at least one other Solana DAT, and also having your own Solana DAT. Isn't there this kind of competitive thing that's created by that?
Yeah, it's a good question. And before I forget, actually, just to touch on the Helius point again, I would want to say that we have huge like respect for Mert and him being very cool with everything that we're doing. At least, so far, knock on wood, we want to be really respectful of everything he's built, and that we want to, like, the goal is to not take the spotlight away from him, and try to move on with what we're trying to do. But and so we're truly looking for other names.
I thought it was like a 4D chess move where you were like, if we acquire a company named Helius, Mert is going to have to tweet about it because his company's named Helius and he's the biggest Solana Twitter account.
Yeah.
So I really thought that this was like an advanced chess move, but I guess it was sort of a coincidence.
Yeah, it was I think a happy coincidence because we're all friends. Yeah.
Yes, totally.
But on your point about how we think about our investments versus HSDT. Look, Pantera as a brand, as a firm, is really leaning into HSDT. We care deeply about it because we've written our largest ever single investment into HSDT. We invested over $100 million of cash into this vehicle, so our largest single investment ever. So we care. We're very, very deeply aligned to making sure this works. Solana is our largest position at the firm. We manage over $1 billion of Solana. We care deeply that Solana works, and so we care about both those things. That said, we also do have, I have to wear a lot of hats. As much as I am, representative of Helius, I'm also representative of Pantera, and I'm also representative of our Pantera funds. And so I think, we think there is a world where multiple Solana DATs do succeed. Like I don't think this is a winner takes all market. I think this is I do think this is a scale begets scale market, and so there will be 2 or 3 large winners. But that as we move beyond that, like, there will be 2 or 3, and it's our fiduciary duty as investors to be involved with whoever we think might be the best 2 or 3. We also happen to think we can step up and be one of those best 2 or 3.
You've mentioned, I think, certainly on other shows, I think on this one as well, that you think, within each ecosystem, 2 to 3 of the best DATs are going to win long term. Like, does that mean M&A? Like, do you think that in the Solana world things are going to narrow down to basically only 2 or 3 DATs that we talk about, and the rest get bought out by the bigger DATs or something like that?
Yeah, I would expect there to be consolidation over time. The way that I think about this industry, and this is just mapping case, as an investor does, you map case studies to everything you've learned before. And this just feels like this is a game about scaling and getting capital. And any of these industries where the primary mode is capital, like, inevitably it evolves into an oligopoly with 2 or 3 large guys, 2, maybe 3 large guys, and then everyone else just isn't able to earn a return over their cost of capital, and therefore trades at NAV, or in this case at NAV, or perhaps below NAV. And I think that's just naturally how this industry will play out if it plays out like every other industry that's predicated on capital. And so from that perspective, though, like, I think the natural and the natural end state is that there is consolidation, which means, we could go out and acquire other DATs if they trade at NAV or a slight discount to NAV. It becomes really accretive for us and good for the whole ecosystem for us to do that. That said, there is also this element of, and I saw this all the time as a public equities investor, like, things are easier on paper than they are in real life, right? There are lots of personalities involved. There's a lot of people who, what I'd call empire builders, whose goal is just to, like, run a company just for the sake of running a company and may not be watching out for their shareholders. And so there's an element of, like, reality that we need to navigate. But yeah, we were going to do our best, do well by maximize value for our shareholders, and we're hopeful that other people care about that too.